I'm now thinking about the distinction between Steph and KD, where both players great. And I think, and perhaps this is an oversimplification, you could make the argument that for Steph, his superpower was security. He's very secure. It's part of what makes him able to take a 35-foot shot and just act like it's normal. Whatever happens, happens. It's part of what allows him to cede power to other people, to delegate, because he's secure. I think part of what made Kevin Durant great, beyond his talent and his love of basketball, let's face it, I think it was insecurity. He wouldn't want me to say it. He might have an issue with me saying it, but he's not exactly known to be the most secure guy, and that can be a fire. It can fuel you that I'm going to show everybody. I'm going to show everybody how great I am. I'm going to work hard. Insecurity can be a powerful motivator, but it has its limitations, obviously. And in a situation like the Warriors had, where you're on a great team, you're in a great situation, as you're talking about, the analog to the Kansas City Chiefs. If you're not getting the credit or enough of it, that seemed like that was okay with Steph. For Kevin Durant, a bit of a problem, and thus it all breaks apart, not for basketball reasons necessarily, but because of these personality dynamics that we're talking about.
Yeah, I think Kevin Durant's a little bit of a tweener between Steph and LeBron. I think his initial landing spot, remember, Kevin Durant starts in Seattle. We're told the new owners of the Sonics will keep it, and then they bail. So he doesn't necessarily trust ownership in the NBA. And then he goes to Oklahoma City, and though they win games, Westbrook is a bit problematic because he's so ball-centric, and Kevin's sitting there at the end of the shot clock getting the ball late. So it works, but it's not an ideal situation. Then he makes a brilliant pivot and a courageous one to the Warriors. So like LeBron, they had to make a move. Where Kevin made a mistake, and I don't think LeBron would have made that, because LeBron even bailed on his friend D. Wade. Kevin's like, I just want a ball. I'm going to go with Kyrie. That's a bad business decision. I've likened that to Mahomes saying, I got a friend who's a receiver. I'm going to go play for the Jets. We tend to be a little more protective of our NBA stars for whatever reasons. We would bash an NFL guy for doing that, or a quarterback. But, it was like, well, Kevin, he's a wanderer. He just wants to play ball. And everybody's like, yeah, I remember saying this is an absolutely dreadful professional decision, and it set him back. But I'm not too punitive. I tend to think that whereas Steph is about family, LeBron is an ascendant athlete about, I don't know if it's selfish or not, but he is about LeBron, family similarly, but he's had a different route. Kevin is, he's very Aaron Rodgers. He's a very unique personality. I don't have any similarities with his personality. I could see things with Steph and say, oh, I feel that. Or LeBron, the way he compartmentalizes things. I find Kevin, for me, to be a hard read. We just don't see the world the same. I could not imagine going to a company when I was at a great company, leaving and going to a company with a bad history because a friend went. I don't even know. That wouldn't even enter. I'd be like, hey, good luck. So I think Kevin, for me, will always be a bit of an enigma, is that I think he's one of the great individual talents of my lifetime. I've argued if there was a one-on-one basketball tournament, take out centers, Durant would win. He'd beat MJ, couldn't stop him, and either could LeBron, and he's long enough to get enough stops that he would beat both in one-on-one. But he is a little bit of Aaron Rodgers. I can't imagine taking ayahuasca or going to a darkness retreat or missing camp for a trip to Egypt. So I just chalk it up to, we're just different people.
Yeah, there is that similarity. I do like that comparison, because both KD and Aaron Rodgers have that thing in them of, well, I should be able to do what I want. I should be able to say what I want. I shouldn't be constrained. Look how great I am. I'm going to do what I want. And hey, there's no law against it. Sometimes it's very interesting. Unlike a lot of people in media, I actually don't hate either of those guys. I just see them as prickly and a bit consumed with self. I don't see them as bad guys. I don't see
Right.
them. I don't
Same.
have the idea with Rodgers. I don't have the ideological baggage some in the media have with him, but I just see them as a little bit them focused with this additional aspect of defiance of, well,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to modulate. I shouldn't have to.
Well, and also both never married. I mean, they're like, the wealthier and older you get without a partner, like somebody to call you on your shit. Bill Simmons has talked about this. Like Aaron's gotten into a stage where never married, no kids, may not have a pet. He's going to do what he wants to do. And that becomes, that's counter to most top employees in professional sports. LeBron's all about family. Steph's about family. Aaron's about Aaron. I'm not blaming him for it, but I do think I've seen it in the media where, Bill Maher's legendary, never married, no kids. Bill's going to just blaze his own trail. He's going to take big swings. He's very fearless because he's not protecting anybody. He doesn't care how it, I've thought before certain times, I got kids. I don't want to go here. Like, I don't want this to be part of my legacy. Maybe I shouldn't think about that. Maybe I should be more of a trailblazer. But I got a lot of people I've got in my family, my circle, and I do think about stuff like that.
Yeah, and Bill is going to be the face. He's going to be another one of these media moguls, and it can kind of work that way without the kids and the wife. I'm not saying everybody should get married and have kids, but you're identifying a real thing. I think with Klay Thompson, he's been very grumpy the last 2 years, and it's a bit of an open secret how grumpy he's been. And you can fault Warriors management for this or that, but it does feel like the grumpiness is maybe out of alignment with the situation and what it's been like. And you got to wonder if that also might be another instance of, well, if you're not married, no kids, there might be a void there. It might be.
What do you go home to after a bad night or a disagreement? Yeah. What do you go home to? How do you downshift? If I have a lousy day at work, I almost always have a great day at home. I chalk it up to, honey, let's go out. I'll call my daughter. Let's go to dinner. Like, this is real stuff. Like, this is, I mean, there's a reason that, they want pilots only flying so many days and they want them to be rested. And there's all sorts of jobs like this. You have to be certain ages to be a president. Like, there are these borders on certain jobs. And, I think we forget sometimes because they're celebrities and they're rich, bad. Lou Holtz always talks about this in college football. You get a different team every week. I mean, a kid flunks a class. He's got girlfriend breaks up with him. College football, like Nick Saban made it a factory. Like, you felt like you got the same team every week. But I've watched Urban Meyer teams at Ohio State go to Purdue and get blown out. Like, how? Purdue doesn't have four guys who would start for them. You're talking about 18, 19, 20-year-old kids.
Yeah, and when you don't have the wife or a kid and you're a very famous athlete, what you often have is the yes man is what you got around you. My wife doesn't tell me everything I'm doing at work. Like, yes, you're right. Yes, they're being unfair to you. Sometimes she's going to go, well, are you sure about that? Or have you thought about this? That isn't going to be the case when you are a famous NBA player. You're going to have your entourage. You are the focus of their lives. And so you're just going to get, in this classic way, the validation of whatever your grievances are. They're going to nurse that. And they're going to nurse that in part because they need to prove to you that they're the ones who have your back and they're the ones who are necessary as a way of glomming on against this thing. So it's easier to get unhappy.